Good morning, or good evening, or maybe it's good afternoon. Welcome to Talking Pictures, your weekly Wednesday waffle. I'm I'm Brian, and I'm joined today by my good friend and co-host for today's episode, David. David, what's the crack?
Do you think you'll ever introduce yourself not as Furiosa now until the Furiosa movie comes out?
Dave, I think the question is you should be asking, am I gonna keep doing it after the movie comes out?
It's just you now coming out as saying like I'm changing my name to Furiosa, like David and Furiosa present Talking Pictures podcast.
What do we call it? Dave, before we get into today's episode, which I'm very delighted we decided to talk about it, trailer of the week, if you don't mind.
Of course, man, fire away.
Yeah, man. Adam Sandler's got a Netflix movie coming out on March 1st. He's always got a Netflix movie coming out. Well, this one's a little different because he's in space. He's a spaceman, either traveling on a mission or trying to get home. And it's not one of those action, intense, fun, popcorn munching type of movies. This is one where people, me and you, for example, might like, and hopefully people who are not like me and you do like, because Adam Sandler is probably going insane or seeing things because his companion for the movie is a giant spider. And and this giant spider is being voiced by Paul Dano, who recently did The Riddler.
Yeah, it's I haven't seen the trailer. It's a movie that's in my watch list because, like that, I saw it was Adam Sandler and Paul Dano. I kind of avoided the trailer because I don't want to see anything for it because it's one that I already know I'm going to see. So I kind of have attempted to stay away from it. But the fact that you're recommending it obviously looks good. You wouldn't really recommend something that didn't look good. So I'm delighted to hear that it at least looks good. That it's worth a recommendation of checking out the trailer.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry for giving away maybe one or two things.
No.
Too many.
I knew those things anyway, so you're fine.
Right.
I had seen screenshots of Paul Dano's character, so it's not you're not revealing anything for me. It's fine. But you know the way that it's kind of like the less I see of it, the better. The two of us were the same for Spider-Man No Way Home. We had seen Green Goblin image how many times, but we still avoided seeing it in motion.
Yeah. Oh, in motion, exactly. Right, David, moving on from one veteran actor to another. We're talking today about The Holdovers. And this movie, to sum up, would be in a scenario, what if Bart Simpson was kept at school over the holidays, supervised by Principal Skinner? What can you imagine will happen?
That's a great way to put it, honestly. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that, but now that you've said that, I'm like, yeah, that makes actually perfect sense. And you've wow, you've left me speechless here, Brian. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
That does not just conclude today's episode, David. We've got an hour of it. So the Holdovers, we have a very limited cast. The leads are Paul Giamatti, an actor who everyone will see and go, oh, I know that guy. Whereas me and you know him by name. I remember him back in the days of The Negotiator or Big Fat Liar or that one cop lying on a couch in that Johnny Depp movie Blow. He's come a long way now to be a very high demand actor. And he's got... Oh, what's her name? You've seen her face. Her name's Davine. Oh, god damn it. She's the cook in the movie. She's the female lead, but she's likely to be the...
Davine Joy Randolph.
That's her. Yeah. So she's there as well for the duration of the movie. And we've got a young first film debut actor with Dominic... Shit, David, don't know this guy's either.
Dominic Sessa.
Sessa, yeah. So
at least I think that's how it's pronounced. It's Sessa. I'm going to go with Sessa.
So the movie is about these three characters who are left behind their boarding school during the Christmas holidays because, well, Angus, who's played by Dominic, he's left behind his mother and stepfather while they go vacate wherever else, and and it was unexpected for him, so he's been left behind. Paul Giamatti was, let's say, nominated and forcibly volunteered to supervise the students who were left behind, and the cook stays behind as well because of the nature of her situation. Davine, she is grieving the loss of her son who died in the Vietnam War, and she works there, therefore her son was able to go to the school, but she still works there, therefore it feels like home. So that's the reason why all these characters are stuck there. To the listeners, is this movie sounding boring to you? Because I never went on my phone at all. I found myself quite addicted to looking at my phone in the cinema just to check the time, just to see how long's left. For this 2-hour movie, never did that once. This movie is fucking fantastic. It is such a welcoming, warm movie to watch. And we heard all the hype about it. We heard that Paul Giamatti is coming for that Oscar. He's giving Cillian Murphy a run for his money. That the movie is likely to be a Best Picture nomination. This new kid coming in here, never made a screen acting debut before. Great. This is from the guy who did Nebraska and Downsizing and a few other movies, but I'm not too familiar with Alexander Payne, but this is definitely my favourite of his. I know that for a fact now. So, how to describe this movie? Why is it so good? What's so good about it? We open up with Paul Giamatti correcting tests, smoking a pipe, and he's mumbling and muttering to himself, calling the students Philistines. One of many words that I learned in this movie, but I don't know what they mean. And he's been given a plate of cookies because it's Christmas, and his co-teacher is being nice. So you think, oh, is she gonna be the annoying love interest sort of, but like she wants to, I don't know, she fancies him, she wants to maybe go out on a date, she's trying to flirt with him, whereas he's just like having none of it. That's not his style. He likes his loneliness. He likes to he isolates himself. He lives a life of his own one. He's a world of one. He's the type of professor, a well cultured and educated professor in Roman, or what is Roman or Greek?
I think I don't know. It was ancient civilizations. I'm pretty sure that he was teaching.
Yeah. So if you don't know anything about ancient civilization, you are a Philistine to him, and he goes back and forth with bickering his dean or the lead of the boarding school, because he would mark harshly to all of his students, including one whose, let's say, father would provide a hefty donation to the school, but he goes, I don't care. He doesn't pass my class. He doesn't pass, so I'm not going to do that. And the good thing he'll do to allow some reasonable accommodation or leeway for allowing his students to pass his class is, okay, I'll give you a retest, but it's going to be on something completely different, so you're going to have to keep studying. And whereas this student in his class, Angus, played by Dominic, he does all right. We're seeing insert shots of him placing all the tests on all the students' tables. You just see where we're going with a C-, D, and E, a couple of more C-, and the highest grade he gives is a B, and that's the Dominic. And all right, he's got nothing to lose. He is not gonna fail, but Dominic's a bit like you can argue he'd be cheeky, but he's also got a bit of he is smart, Dominic. Like, he's not one of those rich kids who's entitled, who thinks because of the situation he's been born in, everyone else is beneath him. He's not like almost every other kid in his class, especially the bully who's, looks like a young Zac Efron or Zac Efron's younger brother. You know that guy I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's a good comparison, actually.
Asshole. Deserved a punch. So, poor Angus is left behind. And he's left behind with a couple of other students. So I thought, okay, the professor, God, what's his name? Paul Giamatti plays.
Paul. He has the same name, Paul Hunnam.
Paul Hunnam. So Professor Hunnam, it's not just because it's the holidays. He's not gonna lay back, relax, and watch a bit of TV. He's gonna put these kids to work. He wakes them up in the early of the crack of dawn, out exercising, has them studying for catching up for the following semester to come. He's being a dickhead, like proper, the worst a teacher can get, and he's like a hypocrite because he's telling all the kids as they're exercising. What was the line that he says? A healthy body is good for the soul, or something along those lines. While he's smoking a pipe, and then he's coughing up whatever he's smoking, and you get the sense that he doesn't like his students because he sees them as entitled rich kids who don't know their arsehole from their elbow, and essentially he's gonna now to make their lives miserable. Using his strengths of being a professor in ancient civilization. But this movie is essentially about how these people come to know one another. And, well, I did say that the movie is warm, so it really tackles all sides of drama, while splinters of comedy in there. I think people enough hearing me talk about this movie in terms of the premise. Why don't you tell us what you think about the movie before we get into the elements of the story in what this movie really is about and why we like it so much?
Yeah, no, listen, I know you had talked a lot there. I didn't want to stop you because as you were describing it, I was just thinking back to the movie. You know, I was like, yeah, it's one movie that I think we came out of the cinema and kind of looked at each other, and you said it. You were like, I wish we hadn't done our 2023 wrap up so early, because this definitely is a top contender there. You kind of mentioned it there. I'm gonna slightly go back over what some of the things you said there about everything. So Paul Giamatti, he's someone that, like you said, you show a picture and everyone knows him, but probably not a lot of people would know his name. They go, oh yeah, it's the guy from this, it's the guy from that. He's very much like a character actor. He would have been in like supporting roles a lot of the time, and this is the first time for me anyway, I don't know about you, but this is the first time that I've seen him in a leading role, and really kind of being the star of the show. Oscar wise, you're right. I think that he is going to be giving a lot of the current frontrunners a run for their money. I think in any world where the likes of, say, Bradley Cooper wins over this is insane. I know he's obviously gunning for that lead actor with Maestro, but it's not one that we're going to talk about here on the podcast really until we do our Oscar predictions and stuff. We'll go into it a bit more then, but Paul Giamatti's character in this, like, he so effortlessly becomes the character of Paul Hunnam. He is entitled in his own way. He uses his, well, not entitled, probably not the best way to describe him, but like you were saying there, he is he has a certain thing over these students, and the students have something over him, and what the students have over him is they have money and they have status, and their families are from, they're from families that can do whatever they want, really. And what he has over them is he realistically holds their future in his hands. And like you were saying there, he is going to make them work for it. It's not going to be yeah, sure, I'll pass you, go on. Like he very much from the start, like you're saying there, he grades them all badly, and we find out later on that he's graded students badly enough that a governor's son wasn't able to get into Harvard or Caltech or something like that, like something crazy that the dean really, really needed the bump in money The governor, we have a library named after him and you couldn't pass his son. And he's like, well, he wasn't good enough, he didn't pass. So he sticks to his guns in terms of that. Like the power that he has over them is all that he has, the ability to take over their lives. And then in contrast to, before I get into the contrast, like you're saying there, like he's not an unreasonable guy, but he's also not going to make it easy for you. He's not unreasonable, but he's not going to make it easy, because like that, he offers them the makeup test, but it's like, okay, yeah, but it will be on something that you have to read over the Christmas break. You have 2 weeks to read about it, and it'll be an average of the two combined tests. So it's not like a redo and you're going to pass. It's a redo, and if you pass well enough, then you'll pass, based on, some of them getting Fs and stuff like that. So he gives them the chance, but doesn't make it easy either. But in contrast, then you have the two other characters, Angus and Mary. Angus being someone that is a character who doesn't have to stand up for people, or he doesn't have to be as nice as he is, but he still is. He and we learn that later on why he's like that. With finding out about his dad and stuff like that. Like he has a much softer side, and like you were saying there, he has the just in the classroom scene. Like he's the one that gets the highest mark. He doesn't have to say a thing. He'd be happy with a B+, I'm sure, because he knows that's probably the best he's going to get within this class. But he's the one that's making the argument, like, oh, come on, give us a chance. Why are we doing the class? He's kind of giving everyone, he's sticking up for everybody, and it backfires on him then, and Paul then is able to, or Mr. Hunnam is able to use him as a target then for the other boys to go after. And then Mary, who is the cook, like you're saying there, she couldn't be any more different than either of the two characters put together. Like she is a black woman surrounded by entitled white men, just like completely, she doesn't have an ally at all in the world. And then she's lost her son. This is her first Christmas without her son. So she's by herself essentially in the school. I know she's obviously there with the boys and Mr. Hunnam, but she is by herself, in terms of that her son hasn't come home for Christmas. She's not spending time with her family, and it's, even though she can go see her sister, like her sister's pregnant, she doesn't want to because it's going to upset her too much. And then we have Angus, who isn't with his family, and it's not his choice, and that upsets him so much. So there's a lot going on in terms of where our characters are emotionally, and where they all are emotionally, but yet they're all within the school themselves. They're all stuck together. I know that I've now just been rambling on for probably the same amount of time that you have, but before we go any further into it, I have to say that the three characters, I was a little bit disappointed when, because obviously it's not just Angus that stays over at the school. There's a bunch like of guys,
boys,
four other boys, and we even get a scene with Angus, with the young fella that he has an accident in the middle of the night and pisses the bed, and he's a 16-year-old boy, and the kid, he looks to be about 12. He could very easily bully him and like take the piss out of him like the other lads would, but he just says like, don't worry about it, I'll help you in the morning. He's just got a niceness to him of stuff that you don't need to be like this. Well, it's good to be like this, but he has no reason to be as nice as he is until we find out later why that is. But I thought when those other boys left, I was like, oh, I kind of wish that I wish that they had stayed a little bit longer. I wanted them just to have a bit more interaction between the boys. But once they left then, and we got then to the real kind of crux of it, of having just three characters alone in the school together, that's when it even though it slowed down, it really picked up for me, piqued my interest of, okay, what's going to happen here now in terms of how are we going to be, where's the story going to go from here? And I just thought that I'm sure you would agree with me, it is hilarious. The movie is so funny in every aspect, like with the characters, with the dialogue, with the action. When Angus runs through the school, and Mr. Hunnam is chasing after him, and he does like the cartwheel through, and then he goes into the gym and breaks his arm, and that wail of a scream was so funny. And then cut to Paul Giamatti's face, and it just drops. Like, he realizes, oh fuck. Like, he just realizes how much trouble. I think it feels like he is realizing how much trouble he is in, because I have to explain this now. Why is this kid in so much pain? What's happened to him?
That feels like the crossing of the threshold, the point of no going back, because as he was chasing him through the hall, he's shouting him, "You're gonna get 2 weeks detention, you're getting this amount of detention, that's another mark down for you," you know, like Breakfast Club style. He's giving him all these warnings and marks, and he's just not having it, because he's the only one left, because all the other students got to go away skiing and his parents wouldn't answer. And like you said, just quickly, he's not unreasonable. He did try to call his parents again for...
Yeah, he didn't want him there. He did not want him there. He was like, I could not...
He wasn't going to be this little sulking bastard to, oh shit, these kids have an out from under my iron fist. No, he didn't want to keep them. He'd go, great, I like my loneliness.
Yeah.
No. Back to when Angus breaks his arm after that jump. That like almost famous shot or image, it's not a poster, it's an image of Paul Giamatti's face with his jaw dropping, and and they cut to a couple of funny quick shots of him getting the window knife scraper to scrape the ice off the windshield of his car.
The arm just
standing there, and then he said, "I'll go as fast as I can," and them two are going back and forth in arguments with a little quippy music playing in the background. It is very, very funny. And then
I think you're right in terms of the crossing the threshold, because that then, when they go to the hospital, that's the first time that we leave the school, and then the kind of the outside of the school becomes reasonable to be. Yeah, we're no longer set just within the school, that we can go out, and it gives cause that why are we outside the school? Okay, we're in the hospital, now they're back at the restaurant, and then we meet the teacher from the start, and she invites them to a Christmas Eve party, and it just becomes that slow gradual, like, okay, here's reasons for us to no longer be at the school.
Yeah, and what you were saying there, David, you spoke my mind. You were enjoying the fact that, okay, you seen the poster, it's going to centre on these three characters, the professor, the cook, and the student. But you didn't realise there's a couple of extra students here. The bully dickhead, the two young boys who they're Mormons, and then there's another guy who's either going the route of joining the army for his father or become a hippie because of his father. You know, he's that type of guy. Well, when they left, it feels like we're leaving something here that we've gained, that we were working with. But no, them leaving was to allow the movie progress into what I do argue is one of the best movies of 2023, and the relationship between these people. So we start to learn that Hunnam, the professor, shuts himself out of socializing with others. He kept his first few answers were no, we're not going to the party, and then just a couple of go on by Mrs. Doyle, and then great, then they go to the party, and then he actually seems to enjoy himself a bit. He starts to slowly open himself up to his colleague, the teacher, the one who gave him the cookies at the start. And then we see, oh no, she's got a partner because she's kissing some other fella. And we see that Angus was, he was socialising with a girl downstairs as well. But we see Mary, the cook, who's there. We know she's grieving. We see that she's drinking. And then Angus goes to Hunnam. And Hunnam, you're thinking, oh, he's just feeling like he opened himself up. Now he feels nothing but rejected and at a loss. You think he's just going to tell the Angus, the kid, to fuck off or something. When Angus comes to ask him, I need to show you something. He doesn't say it, fuck off or anything like that at all. He says, okay, what? He's not unreasonable. And then we see that Mary's having a moment of grief in the kitchen, and closes the doors, and she's just struggling with the loss of her son. And then they all go home, and this is where Angus says that his father's dead. And because the professor, he sort of insulted him that, I don't know, your mother this and your father that, but no, my father's dead. And they said, what? No, but I thought you said that trying to defend his argument when he knew himself he was wrong. And Mary, you think, she's like not in a fit to talk. She says, "You idiot, what's wrong with you? Let's get out of here. You're cold." She's still able to do those little quips, little funny lines.
Well, it's something that she says when they're watching TV together. I think that he being Mr. Hunnam, he says something about enjoying an argument, and she says, "Well, when was the last time you lost an argument? Like, you only pick an argument that you can win, because he is normally arguing against students." And there is that kind of dynamic, I suppose, that anyone has, when it comes to arguments. Like, when you're a kid and you're arguing with your parent, you're nearly always going to lose. I don't think any child has ever won an argument with their parent. Like, you're always going to lose that. And it's similar with a teacher, like when you're arguing with a teacher, you kind of are always going to lose. There's a certain balance that the teacher has an innately sense of being right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So then when Paul has that moment where he's lost the argument just based on the fact that he said like something about your dad, and then he's like, my dad's dead, and he's like, oh well, no, hold on, he's like, no, you just stop, it's over now, you lost this one. Something that you said there actually that I just wanted to slightly go back to was with Mary's character, because I think that in a lot of other movies, and this movie could have fallen into this trap, and I'm glad that it didn't, is that in a lot of other movies, black characters can fall into the service of white characters. I don't know if you saw the trailer. There's a movie it's coming out this year, 2024. It's called The American Society of Magical, and then the N-word. I'm not going to say the N-word, obviously. But it's all about how black people are actually in service of white people. I don't know, did you see the trailer for this?
No, never heard of this. No.
Okay, I'll send you the trailer after this. You can watch it. But I think that in movies like this, it could have very easily been that she was just there to provide kind of words of wisdom to get them through everything. But the fact that she was going through something herself, that she wasn't just there as like a side character to provide them with where they needed to go or anything like that she was also struggling, that she had an issue, which was that her son was gone, and that she had family to go to but was choosing not to, and being upset about the fact that she's lost her son but her sister gaining a child, and like that moment where they leave the party because of Mary, that it's not in another movie, it would have very much been Paul rejected by the co-worker, him going and getting drunk and spiraling a little bit, and him being in the kitchen, and it's Mary that comes in, rubs his back and tells him it's going to be okay and gives him advice or whatever. So I'm glad that she was very much not just a character there in service of the other characters.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I completely... In summary, all three of these characters needed each other.
Yeah, in very different ways, yeah.
They all had their own paths to go through in terms of where they end up, because as the movie progresses, I'm getting ahead of myself, but Mary's storyline concludes not just quite happy, but on its own, like not intertwined with the final destinational fate between Hunnam and Angus. Mm-hmm. And I'll elaborate that later. But I think we're getting halfway to the episode, David.
Oh, you know what that means? It's time for the first Flash Facts of 2024. Laura, play that jingle for us. Thank you, Laura. So, we have some Flash Facts for the Holdovers. Flash Fact number 1. The opening credits last for 8 minutes and 51 seconds. This is an unusual length of time, and keeping with the theme of stylizing itself after classic films of the time period. It has unique credits for crew members like colour grading and focus puller.
This is a movie that if you watch, you could think, oh, this is an old movie. Mm-hmm. But it's not. it's the most convincingly made to look of its era.
Yeah.
That I've ever seen in forever. You can see some movies and almost any Wes Anderson movie that's released every 1 or 2 years. The set design and the acting, or just to name a few, could come across as of certain eras, 60s, 70s, 80s, or even those three decades. But the Holdovers, you could watch and you could think, so Paul Giamatti was old way back in the 70s, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's one that I came out of the theater. I was like, I've never seen a movie that successfully looks as though it was made within the time that it was made.
That's the
time that it's set, you know. I got home and I kind of looked it up. I was like, okay, what made that look so? Because I couldn't quite put my finger on it, because I was like, what exactly is it that... Because it's straight away, it just feels like it's from the 70s, you know. It just looks like a movie of the time. And there's a couple of key things that they did throughout the movie. So long static shots, just like of exteriors and characters just existing, like not really any fancy camera movements. All sets are practical. There's no they actually filmed it within the school building. There was no sets, no green screen, nothing. All like the snow was real, stuff like that. They shot it on a 55mm lens. They recorded the audio in mono instead of stereo, which kind of it makes the audio not as crisp. There was a couple of pops in terms of the audio, like it peaked in certain places. They added like the scratch of like it was on film. And then what else was there? Lots of stuff. Crash zooms and dissolves. The film is full of dissolves. Dissolves is a practice that we don't really see anymore. But if you go back and watch it, like there's a lot of scenes that will dissolve from one into the next, and they take a long time. So it really went out of its way to not only look, even the opening credits, like they had like the old style focus features in Miramax and stuff like that. Like it just looked like it really did a great job of being a movie that takes place in the 70s and looks as though it was shot in the 70s, put in a vault, and then someone was like, oh yeah, we never released the Holdovers, and then they released it this year, you know?
Yeah, could not agree more. And I still don't know how they did it. But good. You're well informed there, David. You're well informed.
I wanted to find out as much as I could now for this flashback section. Flash fact number 2. Paul Hunnam's lazy eye was Paul Giamatti's idea and started out as a prank on co-star Dominic Sessa before being incorporated into the script. Perhaps intentionally, the eye consistently switches from his left eye to his right eye in different scenes throughout the film, making the viewer share Tully's confusion on which one to look at.
I want to watch this movie again for multiple reasons, but the eye is definitely the something to keep an eye out for, because he did ask that question. Angus did, you know, as he's bonding, you know, teaching him how to bowl properly. Hey, what eye should I look at you when I'm talking to you? You know, I just want to make sure. And then that close up shot of Paul Giamatti with literally, I think it could not have be more obvious that both eyes went in like opposite directions.
Yeah,
and he goes like, you know, like as if a nephew was asking an inappropriate question to his uncle about
that he's been told not to ask. Like, don't bring it up, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it was something that I noticed throughout the movie as well. I don't know about you. I was like, does Paul Giamatti have a lazy eye? Because I've never noticed this before. And then when he says it, when he brings it up, he's like, which eye should I look at? I'm like, okay, that's funny. And then I questioned it too. And then every single time I saw him, he's like, he's changing the eye. There's no... And then when he points at the eye, he's like, it's this one. I'm like, I would have completely said the other one. But the fact that he, you know, it was incorporated into the script, he just picked one then, obviously. But I apparently he's not a lazy eye or cross-eyed or anything like that. He's able to do that, which is...
What do you mean
like
he's able to do that?
I guess he's just able to make one of his eyes lazy.
No way. There has to be some sort of foul play, manipulation, there's something going on here, because there's no way he's able to do that himself. because if he is, then just give him the Oscar.
And then finally, flash fact number 3. This is Dominic Sessa's on-screen debut. He had only acted in on-stage productions before this. It was actually Paul Giamatti who took credit for getting Dominic Sessa cast as Angus. He was claiming that he insisted on Alexander Payne giving him the audition after Payne had expressed reluctance at Sessa's lack of acting experience in his resume.
What a bright young whippersnapper.
I couldn't agree more. Like, he genuinely, to say that this is his first role, I'm like, sorry, what? How is this his first role? Because he seems like that, what we were saying is, taken from the vault back from the 70s. Like, how is this kid not in more stuff? Like, I'm excited to see now where he goes from here, but he just absolutely nailed it. I could see him, similar to seeing, Paul Giamatti nominated for Best Actor and seeing Divine Joy Randolph as nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I could very much see Dominic Sessa taking Best Supporting nomination at the Oscars.
Oh, aren't the nominations out by now, David?
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. We're recording this on Monday the 22nd, and the nominations are coming out tomorrow on Tuesday, and this episode is coming out on the Wednesday. So at this point, the nominations are out. So I'm sure that if we are right or wrong, you, the listener, if you're listening to this on Wednesday when it first comes out, you will know. In the future, it doesn't matter because all these are in the past. But hopefully now tomorrow we'll be right before this comes out. And that, my friend, brings an end to our flashback section. Laura, play us out of here. Thank you very much, Laura. So have you got any further? Where would you like to take the rest of this episode?
David, just like in the Recess movie where TJ sees Principal Prickly as not such a bad guy, we're getting into the holiday seasonal session of the movie where Paul Giamatti, Mary says, why don't you do something nice for him because he's left behind, he's abandoned, he's not with his family. And Paul Giamatti, who loves his loneliness, he's like he couldn't really comprehend the idea of doing such a thing to get something nice to show a little bit of a celebration for the kid.
Of the three of them there, he's the only one that isn't there by choice. Like, Paul Giamatti, realistically, his character was going to be there anyway. And then Mary was going to be there anyway because she wasn't going to go to her family. So Angus is the only one that's there not by choice. And then as well as that, his parents didn't want him, and then he couldn't even get through to his parents to go with the other guys. Like, he could be where he wants to be in Boston, or he could be on a skiing trip. But no, he's the only person in the whole movie that isn't where he wants to be. So
Hunnam goes to buy a tree for whatever's left, and then he checks on Angus before he goes to get the tree just to see if he's asleep, and then he comes back, check him, Angus is gone. Goes to search the entire school around him. This guy who's trying to do something nice from his perspective, searching the whole school for him. Where the hell have you been? Oh no, here I guess. It's almost like he's gonna be like, you ungrateful little shit, but no, he didn't do that. He's like, Mom, I want to show you something. Cut to Paul Giamatti. Well, what do you think? As if he's presenting a brand new car to sell. This little not a third or a fourth of a size actual tree sitting on the table, lopsided, no ornaments or lights decorated on it. Well, I'm sure we can find some. Like, he's really proud of this because he doesn't do this before,
It's not even the bare minimum. It's lower than the bare minimum, and he thinks that's the upper echelon. It's the best thing that he could have done, on such short notice. And in a way, he's getting a tree on Christmas Day, but it's the fact that he didn't even think of it himself. It's Mary that suggested it to him, and then he was like, maybe I'll.
But
maybe
it was
I'll
really,
do that.
It was really nice. It was nice. It was a nice moment to see because he did it, because he is trying to do something nice. And then he I got this for you. He gives Angus a present, gift wrapped.
Yeah.
We're watching this scene play out, and there's a little bit of a quippy, chirpy music playing in the background, and Angus opens up. All right, what did he get him? It's gonna be something like that Angus is not going to appreciate, not because he's a cunt, but because he just shares different. It's going to be something that Hunnam would have wanted for Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Opens up, and he's given Angus a book on, what is it? How to be.
It's entitled like Meditations, and it was all these different things. But it was like, but no religious. It was not a religious book, but it takes like the teachings of lots of different religions, and he was like, "That's great. Everything you want to know is in there." And then he hands the present to Mary, and it's the same book, and it was so funny. And I know I'm jumping ahead here, but when he is packing up his office and there's a whole crate of that book, and it's like you can see there's 20 copies of it, I burst out laughing. I was like, oh my god, that is so funny. He just has 20 of these copies of books in case he needs a present, and he can give it to anyone. I just thought that was the funniest thing ever. I literally was like laughing out loud in the cinema.
But is it really actually meant for presents, or what is the purpose? Because he doesn't seem to be the man to give out presents anyway. But it's like in case of emergency, give this book, because it'll fit anyone. Because it's non-religious, it's fine. It'll fit anyone's, denomination or anything like that. Because why would you have 20 copies of the same book? It read to me as, okay, if I'm ever stuck and I have to give someone something, or if I'm going to a housewarming and I have to give a book or something, that he would give the same book. I just thought it was so, it described him perfectly. It was like a character trait that I was like, oh, absolutely, he is someone that would do this. I bursted out laughing, and I couldn't help myself when Mary opened her present and it's the same book, like, because the scene had just been dragged out just long enough, like I said, great acting, music playing in the background, taking time for the actors to do the thing, to open the present, and you just see it's the same thing, and I just bursted out laughing. I was like, you were sitting next to me when that happened. I think that was the most I laughed the most, because I was not expecting it. I was paying attention, but I was not ready for it. And then, so far the movie's been great, but we get into the elevated, deeper meaning behind it when they go to Boston, and this is when they drop Mary off to her sisters. And throughout the movie, as much as Paul Giamatti, Hunnam, he despises his students, he defends Mary when one of the students talks out of turn about her, like full on. As if
I thought he was gonna.
And
I thought he was gonna hit the child. Like, he says something just overtly racist, and he loses. He nearly flips the table. Like he hits the table, and like a plate goes flying or something like that. That was very much like a raw reaction. That it was Paul, the man, as opposed to Mr. Hunnam, the teacher. It was his instinctual reaction, as opposed to, oh, hold on now, I'm in charge of these lads. He's only a kid, and he kind of draws himself back in. It was a great, great moment. And it shows then the care that he has over Mary, because he realizes that what these boys might not, that she's lost a son. This is her first Christmas now without a son. And he does have those moments where he goes down to her living quarters and tries to connect with her. And he is a much, much softer side to her than anyone else in the movie. And it's a much caring side. And he sits down and he talks about Curtis. And she, she's as honest can be, because he's talking about Curtis. And he's like, oh, he's a really bright kid. He was great. And she's like, yeah, he thought you were an asshole. Like, there's, just because he's dead doesn't mean I'm going to, not tell you what he thought of you. Like, because that's what he thought of you, and he's just being honest, or she's just being honest with how Curtis was. So, and that doesn't affect him at all. He's still, going to be just as sweet to her.
Yeah, and just to see where that movie goes, that hits home a little bit more, because the opinion of someone who's passed away is still being informed to you, and then it's almost like it's almost repeated to him again in a way where we've said goodbye to Mary, a lovely goodbye to Mary. Hunnam takes Angus to a museum, tries to educate him a bit, and he does it in an interesting way for Angus to tell him, you should do that more often. The students, they don't like you. In fact, no one really liked you. Everyone hates you. Did you know that? Do you remember, or something along those lines? I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly what. That's the crux of what Angus told him. And this is in a sort of a not a montage, but a sequence of scenes where they're bonding together. And then he teaches them to play bowling, and then he asks him about the eye, and then Hunnam says to Angus, he repeats the same thing back to him. So he, as much of a sarcastic giver that Hunnam is, he does it, but he's doing it in a non-antagonizing way. So they're bonding. Like, literally, like I got a sense of uncle and nephew relationship between these two. Within a matter of days, these guys have spent time together. They've socialized and they got to know each other a little bit more. And
I felt a little bit in a way that Hunnam nearly was a little bit jealous, I think, of Angus, because I felt like when he was kind of looking at him, he was nearly wishing that, I wish I had been a bit more like that as a kid, because you can kind of see him, like when he's at the bar when they're bowling, like he looks over and he sees him talking to the girls, and then that kind of nearly inspires him to talk to the lads at the bar, be sociable, because he sees Angus being sociable. I just kind of got a little bit of like that. Like, I did get the nephew uncle kind of relationship, but I also felt a little bit of a jealousy that he nearly sees himself, or what he wishes he was when he was that age.
Yeah, no, I agree. Then we learn that Angus's father is not dead. He's in a mental hospital, and that's almost like more embarrassing for Angus to say, which is why he said he's dead. And
did you get that? Because I kind of got it as he's accepted that his dad is gone, that he's not his dad.
No, I got it. I sort of took it that his dad passed away, as opposed to revealing more of what happened, because
but that's a good way to look at it. Yeah,
that's how I took it anyway. But we do see that his father is he's gone. He's not completely there. Because he can't talk to him like a father to his son. And then we see Hunnam, he tried to run away from Hunnam to go see him, but like Hunnam, he's not unreasonable. He said, of course we can go to a cemetery, but of course it was the mental hospital. And then after that, where do we go next? Is it back to
we have that small scene in the hotel where they both are taking antidepressants. Do you know that? Angus doesn't. He drops the pills, and Paul picks them up, and he's like, "Oh, you're taking." I can't remember the name of it, but he's like this, and he's like, "Yeah, it's for this." And he's like, "Well, depression," and he was like, "Yeah, no, it's for these other things." And then he goes to his own bag and he takes out his own pills, and he's also suffering from it. So you do kind of see that they're not far off each other. You know, like they do have a lot of things in common, even though they're miles apart in age and come from different social standings and stuff like that. Like they are both unfortunately suffering from depression for different things, I'm sure. But he does have that kind of moment. I suppose I think that maybe might be a little bit of a turning point. Well, not that he hasn't already. I feel as though his Mr. Hunnam has turned a little bit, but that's another jump for him to see that they're not far apart, is that they both suffer from depression.
And then, by the way, that scene with the hooker is funny as well. When the hooker goes off, hey, you got to smoke? Hey, you want to go around the corner? Hey, you want to have a good night? That was a funny scene as well. And then Hunnam meets a colleague or a fellow student?
They were both in college together.
Yeah. And Hunnam is obviously in a place where he wishes he wasn't, because someone copied off him and he received the fallout of it, and he's struggled to find himself in a good place in life in terms of his career. Therefore, you can see why he's very down in the dumps. He's very harsh on other students because he's been wronged, and he could not have wanted to get away from home even more. Like he didn't want to be anywhere near his parents. And then, because he kept on saying, Barton don't lie. Was it? Barton men don't lie. And here he is, a Barton man, lying. Hypocrite. but he's not like shrugging it off as you don't understand or that's different or anyway. Then it's I think after that it's the news that we're back after the holidays, and it's like student and professor have an understanding between each other.
Mm-hmm. They've gone through this change. They've gone through this journey together, and it's almost like in another movie they'd never acknowledge it, but they'd give each other a nod. Do you know? But
then we learn that Angus' parents, who we've never seen on screen, finally come back, pay a visit to the dean or to the governor, or to the principal of the school. Yeah, the dean. Given out because Angus has visited his father, and so they go to question Hunnam about it. And so after this journey that me and you have just seen between these two, instead of Hunnam at the start of this movie would have just not
thrown him under the bus.
Yeah, exactly. Not that you'd sell him out, because he wouldn't see himself as selling him out. He just just discarded him completely.
Yeah.
But he does not just the opposite, but he completely covers for him, saying it was his idea. Mm-hmm. And through the lessons he's learned throughout the movie, because it was Mary who helped him realize that this kid was left behind, abandoned during the holidays. He goes to tell the dean and his parent he was left alone. He should be with family during Christmas, and that's why he took him. So he lied, and he covered for him, and it cost him his job.
And I think he was dead right, like, to call the parents out, like, because he's like, who leaves their kid alone at Christmas?
Yeah,
because very, very much like, and especially to tell him the day before they go, the day he's supposed to go home, and it's not like they didn't try and contact him about going on the ski trip. It's like, you were unavailable, like, you wouldn't answer the phone, So I think he was right to not only call them out, but he was right to do something with them, have a Christmas.
And he pretty much tells a fuck you to the dean as well as he walks out. Mm-hmm. And then that's when he tells Angus, who doesn't know what has happened, whether he's been expelled or not. He says, it's this one, pointing to his eye. Mm-hmm. This is the eye you should look at. Which, I don't know, it's like one step to open himself up more to this kid after the journey they've gone through. So,
and I love that moment that Mary comes back, that she comes and she holds Angus's hand, because like something that he's been afraid of the entire time is like, if I get kicked out of this school, I'm going to military academy. And what we have to remember is that if he goes to military academy, like he's close to 18, so he's probably going to go out and join the army, and this is at the height of the Vietnam War. So for Angus, going to military academy is like a death sentence, that he's essentially going to military academy, to the army, to the Vietnam War. So to have then Mary come in, and she's there, she knows, she walks in, she's like, I heard, and he's like, I'm probably going to go to military academy. She knows that that's a death sentence, because that's exactly what happened to her son Curtis. So it was great to have that kind of fully rounded, like, two characters understanding the situation that they're in, that he's going to have, that there's a possibility of, Paul going in there and essentially giving him a death sentence.
Well, it's not even the likes of that. It's a sort of a, given the circumstances, a happy ending for Mary. It's given the circumstances, based on the relationship with his parents, a happy ending for Angus. And then even given the circumstances, a happy ending for Hunnam, who, yes, is out of a job, but he's never left the country. He's never travelled anywhere, and he doesn't know where he's going to go. Well, he's just going to go somewhere, and he loads up a trailer, drives away. And I don't think we've touched on the fact that he is an alcoholic, that there's
so many layers to all of these characters, it's impossible to say every single thing.
But a lesser movie would have had him drunk and having a meltdown about something, but we never got that. He's almost like he's still in control.
He's a high functioning alcoholic, definitely.
Yeah. And then off into the, well, not really a sunset, but he drives off, and that's the ending we get for this movie. Don't know about you, David, but I wish we held off on doing our top 10 movies of 2023, because this is my third favourite movie of the year. It's first Oppenheimer, then it's John Wick Chapter 4, then it's this, The Holdovers. Yeah, I've pushed out no hard feelings out the top 10. This movie's just so warm, so welcoming. It's just great. And
it's one of those movies that I think will enter my rotation of watching it around the holiday season. You know, I'd be happy to revisit this every year or every couple of years at least.
I think we found ourselves a new holiday movie, a new Christmas movie.
Absolutely. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about this time next year, or you know, around Christmas time next year, about if we're doing Christmas movies again. But no, it's absolutely like you said there. It's warm. It's cozy. It's just a great film. It's heartfelt and it's hilarious. I have to say, like, I really, really do hope that it gets the recognition it deserves now in this. In the Oscar nominations, which are already out. I was going to say probably they are out. So I really hope, that Paul gets his nomination. I hope they all get nominations, and I'm looking forward to seeing I'm looking forward to other people now finding this and getting a chance to see it. It's a shame because we had to go outside our normal kind of cinema. We had to trek a little bit to go see it in a different place than usual because it didn't get as wide of a release here. But I'm excited to see other people discover it and see it.
An evening well spent, David. Well spoken to. It was a good episode today. Folks, if you didn't see The Holdovers, go see The Holdovers. I kid you not, you will laugh and you will enjoy it. And if you don't, well then, something wrong with you, I guess. Folks, we are on...
Have you got a recommendation? Before you wrap it up, you got a recommendation?
Yeah, Dave, I got a recommendation. This movie.
Brian,
I recommend this movie.
I recommend also this movie. I recommend that you follow us on our new Letterboxd.
We just started a new Letterboxd, so we are on Letterboxd Talking Pics. You'll see our logo there. We have just did the complete catalogue and provided links to our podcast and every movie we've discussed within their reviews. We've also made lists to every bottled up episodes we did, such as our favourite Christmas movies, favourite spooky movies, favourite gangster movies. If you're on Letterboxd, please find us at Talking Pics. You'll see us, you'll see the logo, you'll see that's me and David. This is our shared now Talking Pictures podcast account on Letterboxd. It's a great app for tracking movies. We're also on Instagram at Talking Pictures Pod. You'll see the links in the description below. We also post an episode every Wednesday for our good waffle, and an occasional bonus episode, which we may have one or two releasing in a couple of Sundays to go. And if you don't listen to us on Spotify, we're also on any other podcasting app of your choice. So please, by all means, if you haven't already, give us 5 stars. If we're not doing a good job, let us know why. Send us an email at talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. Let us know what we're doing wrong so we can do it right. I mean, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little like, because it gives you nothing and it gives us everything.
Cost them nothing, gives us everything. Absolutely. I think you nailed everything on the head there, pal. Well done.
I'm so
make sure to check out make sure to check out some of our previous episodes as well. All of our episodes, you can just go back and listen to them. They're on movies that you've probably seen over the course of the last year. And we did our 2024 most anticipated films. They're coming up obviously in the next couple of months. We've got a jam-packed schedule. We did our 2023 look back there last week, so lots for you to go back and listen to. You've no excuse not to listen to the episodes. So yeah, make sure to check out everything will kind of be in the description down below in terms of links, so you'll be able to find us, like Brian was saying.
Philistine.